Welcome to episode 3 of Starting a Startup, where we talk about Pocket Investor, the greatest real estate investment tool ever created. In this episode, we'll be talking about state management within Nuxt 3.0 and how it's different from Nuxt 2.0, where we used Vuex, and now we'll be transitioning to using useState instead. Also completely revamp our front page and as well as create a sign up page and a sign in page. We'll figure out how to use Tailwind to create some very nice looking pages. And lastly, stick around to the end where I get some feedback online using Reddit and see what people think about Pocket Investor. We have a lot to cover, so let's go ahead and jump straight into the content. As I want to create several pages, I want these pages to be very much search engine optimized, SEO. So I'll use this use meta function and then copy that over to our code. Once I have this, it's just a matter of filling out the different pieces of code to be able to tell the page to display relevant SEO specific information, such as the title, and then the description for the page, and then lastly, the keywords. And the keywords are going to be an array that's going to be interpolated over to a comma separated list of strings. So once we have that, we'll save the page, refresh the page, and then view the page document source. And as we can see, the title is there, the description is there, and the keywords are also there. So now our page are SEO friendly. Now in Nuxt 2, you typically put your Vuex store state management within the store folder. However, in Nuxt 3, you use instead useState as a way to have shared data across multiple different pages and multiple different components. So I'm learning about that here. So to use this, essentially you use useState and then provide a variable name and then create a function that returns an initial value. As we can see here, counter is the name, and then it creates a function and returns an initial value. Once it's created, it's auto-imported across your pages, components, and then you can then use it within your templates by simply using its name to either update or to display information as you wish. Before I figured out that Nuxt 3 does things completely different with regard to state management, specifically a change from Vuex to useState, I was completely confused, and thankfully I came across this article that put things in perspective and let me know that we need to go ahead and create a plugins that then exports a state across our entire application. So in here I'm going to create index.js, and then I'll copy over this template here. So now this makes available useState function. It's a composable function. And here I'm going to go ahead and create a test value. Now, as soon as I create that, it now becomes immediately available throughout our entire application. I'll give it an initial value of 105. Now back into our page, I'm going to go ahead and create that function and have this variable and have it be available to our page, and I'll return it to within our setup function. And so here I'm going to go ahead and output it to the page and create a couple of buttons that's going to allow us to be able to increase and decrement it so that we see that it's actually working in terms of storing value and being kind of interactable with the user. These buttons don't look very great. I haven't added CSS to it, but if we inspect it, we can tell that indeed they are buttons. Okay, so with state management done, I want to go back to the front page and just kind of start from scratch, clean it up. To do this, I'm going to go ahead and download some images using pixels. I'll get some very kind of business related types of images, download those. And so once I have them downloaded, I'll go ahead and save it within assets/img. IMG is just something I created, but you need to just go ahead and store it within assets folder. So once that's done, I'm just going to test it out by displaying an image to the page. Okay, so with that working, I'm not going to build out the entire page itself. I'll take out that image and then create a kind of a hero section that's going to be a big old rectangle in the background with a background image behind it. here's where I ran into a kind of a tough time. According to Nuxt's instruction, to display image or reference an image within your CSS, you use a tilde sign followed immediately by assets, but that did not work at all. And instead, what I needed to do is use /_ Nuxt / assets / images to be able to get this image to actually display to the background. So once I kind of took a long time to figure that out, I was able to kind of proceed with the project itself. So here I have a hero image, and I'm going to go ahead and add an overlay above it. And then next I'll create a container, and this container will have some text within it that's going to be like a header information saying Pocket Investor, in addition to then kind of having a small paragraph tag right below it, just kind of announcing to the world the greatness that this project happens to be. So then I'll continue on. And here I'm looking to create a sort of like a slanted SVG item that's going to be at the very bottom of this hero section to give it an appearance that's this kind of like a slick hero section that's kind of slanted upwards. We know that HTML, everything is all a rectangle. So I'm going to use this SVG as an illusion to give sort of like a slanting appearance. So now it's time to create the actual section that's going to live right beneath our hero section, and it's going to connect nicely with our slanting SVG item. So within here, I'm essentially going to create a container that contains 3 different boxes, and each box will have a selling feature regarding Pocket Investor, the greatest real estate investment tool ever existed to man. And so here I'm kind of creating that, and we see what it looks like initially. So now it's just a matter of kind of adding 3 of those and then adding some more meaningful information within these little boxes here. And so with all the tailwind CSS classes that we're using to render everything, you can see what the final output composition happens to look like. And yes, it is a lot of classes, but once you kind of just start using Tailwind, you'll get accustomed to what things mean, really. But one thing I want to do though is to make sure that the middle box sits higher above the rest. So I just removed the padding on large page such as this. And so it's kind of looking pretty good there. So it kind of gives the eye some interest as people are looking at the page itself. So now it's just a matter of kind of adding some icons. So I will thankfully borrow some icons from Tailwind's resources and its SVGs. And so I'll use that link and then go ahead and copy these SVGs as I see fit. They're free. So funny story, I was so enthralled with this project that I didn't even pay attention or read the fact that on the page itself it says copy SVG and copy JSX to literally copy the SVGs and then paste it into your HTML markup. And so instead, not paying attention, I did it the hard way by inspecting the page and then editing as HTML and then copying the HTML page for each of these 3 items. Thankfully, there wasn't like 20 or more icons that I wanted to copy, but in either case, I did it the hard way. But in either case, the icons are looking great, and thank you Tailwind CSS and your icons. They look great, and so I'll use that for my project. I'll just go ahead and change up the color, and so boom, things are looking pretty interesting, some variety to the eye. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and keep the blue section that I've had there since the very beginning of the project. I like it. It's a nice kind of color tone. So what I'll just kind of do is use it as a call to action section by saying, let's get started now, and then add in a nice big button that people can use to sign up to this great real estate investment calculator called Pocket Investor. And so they can click that and it'll take them over to a sign up page. So our page overall is looking well, nice and revamped. I think the last closing touch is to just go ahead and add a quick blurb towards the bottom that says, connect with us, connect with me, SolidusCode, and then yeah, so just gonna add that real quick and then make that change, save it, and then we can see kind of like that quick information there. And again, the icon is borrowed from Tailwind CSS. So with that, our homepage is basically completed. To expedite things further for our sign up page and sign in page, I'll make a copy of the homepage and then paste it, rename it, and then take a template that I found online and just kind of paste that HTML into the sign up page. But before that, I just quickly updated the SEO information for the page itself to make it in line with what the page name and purpose is for. And so here I have the entirety of the sign up page with all its HTML markup. And this is kind of what it looks like overall. And the final output is on the right, where we see the logo I created by hand and put that up to the website. And lastly, I think now I'm just kind of working on the sign in page. Everything is basically the same. We're just sign up changed to sign in, and I removed the name field. Basically, to sign in, you'll need your email address and then your password, of course, to authenticate the user. And so this is what it looks like. And so from here, we'll be able to navigate back and forth to different pages. So if we click on the house icon, we'll go back to the home page. And if we click on sign up, we go to sign up. And then vice versa, towards the little bottom there, you can say sign in, and then that takes you back to where we started earlier and over again. So with that, the home page, sign up page, and sign in page are ready. All right, so with our state management on pages completely revamped, let's go ahead and go online and get some feedback regarding our application, Pocket Investor. So about 5 days ago, I went online to Business Ideas subreddit and I created a post regarding my application, Pocket Investor, where I basically created a broad strokes idea of what the application is about, what problem it solves, and how much I'm willing to charge for this service, hoping to get some meaningful feedback regarding the application overall. Thankfully, I was able to get 3 people to respond back to me, and so here's what they said. So the first one says, "Hi, great idea. Unfortunately, there are plenty of these deal analyzer tools available online. Most of people repackaging the same tool and marketing it as their own, but I don't know if people are willing to pay $5 per month for this. Good luck if you decide to move forward with it." Kind of breaking this down, I don't think we're at all repackaging the same tool. I mean, yes, the idea already exists, but I'm aiming and hoping to make it better by adding more feature-packed value into the tool. And then, of course, marketing it as our own because it is, well, my own sort of thing. And so it's not just like a candid, like, hey, here's what's available out there. We'll have a way to add some nuance to the application so that it's unique and different, easier to use, faster, and more kind of holistic for the end consumer, which is going to be the real estate investor. That will hopefully save them a lot of time and give them a lot of value. So it's not just going to be a repackaging of the same thing. I was curious about his feedback regarding the $5 per month idea. And so I went ahead and asked him to kind of clarify and expand further on that idea. So he says, honestly, it's because this type of tool is available for free, with the caveat of providing you email, of course, elsewhere on the web. That email can be a throwaway, temp, personal, business email. Nothing is stopping someone from, giving a non-official email. Yes, I mean, there are tools out there available for free regarding real estate investment. I typically see them as a mortgage calculator of sorts. Those are certainly for free, but mortgage calculators don't really account for the overall real estate investment piece of it. It tends to be more for a homeowner to kind of use. definitely a real estate investor can get it to know what their payment is going to be. And then from there, you can say, well, my expenses are going to be this, so I know what my expense tends to be. But it's not a full-fledged package regarding real estate investment that gives you all the nitty-gritty information you need to know that, hey, this is a great deal for me. And especially if you take that to be able to do it at scale, to say that, hey, I want to analyze 5 properties, 10 properties because I'm trying to pick out the best one. That becomes very difficult to do using those free calculators. So free does not always equal best necessarily. Also too, there are calculators that are more real estate investor friendly. However, those again have some kind of quirks to them that doesn't give the full picture to a real estate investor to be able to make rapid fire decisions regarding one property, especially if they are considering multiple different properties, and being able to do that quickly when there's several deals on the table to be analyzing. And to do that manually is not always going to be the best, and to do that fast may prove itself to errors. So if you want to have something that's kind of like wraps around the investor, is something that I'm looking to create with this Pocket Investor tool. Basically fast, scale, and save a lot of time for the real estate investor. Basically, I went ahead and thanked this guy and just kind of went to the next one. Another feedback I received was from a veteran real estate investor, and he says the following: long-term real estate investor here, bought and sold more than 25 houses. I need to know the selling price, the interest rates, the potential rent to know if property will work, nothing more. Basically, this boils down to, well, real estate is pretty straightforward, and he has a point. The problem I see with this is definitely there's still a market for this, because new investors need additional assurance that, hey, I'm making the right deal. Here's the numbers. It makes sense, especially if you're trying to convince your spouse, who sometimes may be like, well, let's make sure the numbers work. You need something quickly that, is independent of the investor, that says, hey, these numbers check out. It's accurate and solid and so forth. But I think what you want as a real estate investor is to know with confidence that the deal that you're selecting absolutely makes sense, and that you're picking the right deal, especially when there are multiple different properties out there that you could potentially make an offer on. Making sure that you maximize the best return for your very scarce set of monies is super important. And so if you can get a higher return on property B versus property A, why not do that? And so I think that's where a tool comes in to help you make the best decision, and to make that quickly when considering multiple different properties, which is typically what's going to happen when you're looking for a property to buy. You're looking at several at a time. I wanted to draw some more information from this individual by asking whether or not he or she would see some value in a new real estate investor using this tool. So he goes ahead and replies, maybe, but are you going to include things like depreciation reports factored in? These are of the biggest deductions a new investor will often overlook, but how would you apply to individuals, as each property is different and rates of depreciations change depending on age of items within real estate? Again, great point, and certainly something for me to think about and to possibly refactor into the application long term, that could potentially differentiate my tool versus all the copious different tools that exist already. And the last comment was not really substantive or constructive in any way, so I'm just going to go ahead and pass on that feedback. So I am interested in what your take is. If you're in the real estate environment, what do you think regarding Pocket Investor, its idea, and its potential value? What value would you want to see in a tool like it? Please comment below. I would love to hear from you. And like I said from the very beginning, this project is a learning experience, and if it's successful as a service, fantastic. And if it's not, it makes for great content for YouTube already. My name is SolidusCode. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Until next time, check out my other videos.